Welcome everyone. Is this loud enough? No, not at all. About that. Aid to what was the Port Phillip district of New South Wales, great on the nerve to say it, now Victoria, is the properties that I know have some connection to the David Clark ancestors that are on the National Trust Register. The Botanic Gardens in Melbourne, which was started by John Arthur, one of the passengers. And any time you hear anybody say, oh, the Botanic Gardens was von Mueller, well, it wasn't. It was John Arthur. Von Mueller was the third. You can tell there's some Arthur descendants here today. Beechworth Police House and the Commissioner's Bridge in Yakandanda, John Matheson built. Breedalbane, a house built by Ewan Robertson and Janet McNabb. The Aitken House in Castlemaine, David Aitken. Cook Smithy at Rochford, John Cook. No cooks. Landcox, which is a grand house in Brighton that was owned by the Archibald Macmillans. And why their little house, I've forgotten the name of the house that they built, that's it. Why that's not on the register, I don't know. St James Church, now the old cathedral. The builders included James Laurie and Archibald Macmillan. Gulf Station, of course, the Bells and Thomas Armstrong. And the first St Francis Church, not the one that's there now, David Aitken, Archibald Macmillan and Alexander Robertson were employed by the builder of that church. So the program, there's not a lot on the program. Obviously people want to talk and meet, but there are a few things. Alan Bell will talk about the Bell family in the barn. Also in the barn there is the group photograph taken for the 100th anniversary outside Scott's Church, and there are sections printed off, and if you can recognise any of the people, it would be nice you could add their names to those sheets. I've got a couple of spots on the program where I'm selling the little dishes, so if you've pre-ordered them and paid for them, see me to collect. But if you're interested in buying any of the little dishes, I'll be in the homestead. And also the register, if in the crush of people arriving, many of you may not have signed the register. You don't have to, but it's just a record of who was here today. I'll bring that round later. For the 100th anniversary, there was a dinner, and one of the descendants of the McEwans, Christina Maudsley, wrote a poem. And it needs a very special sort of person to read it. And I'd like to thank Jim Brown, who has agreed to come. He's had the poem and is practicing, and he will say a few words before he actually reads the poem. Jim.
Hello everyone, can you hear me all right? Yeah. Yep. Okay, it's my pleasure to be here. I'm not related to any of you except possibly the Macmillans. I'm a Broon from Aberdeen, and I believe after the Battle of Culloden, the Broons who fought on the Scottish side were taken into captivity, and their women and children and the clan Broon disappeared, and they were absorbed by the Macmillans in conquest. So I don't know whether that applies to any of you or not. I'm proud to be here. I'm not related to any of you, but I became aware of this function at this wonderful place, and this poem that Christine Maudsley wrote to celebrate the 1839 landing. 100 years later she wrote the poem I'll perform for you now, and she's related to one of the two people in the poem. There's a person called McNabb and a person called McEwan. And in the Celtic tradition, they believe that there is life after death. And they also believe, if you've ever been to Scotland or Ireland, there are ghosts. And ghosts come back. And in this case, McNabb and McEwan came back as ghosts. And it's their conversation and it's a beautifully written thing. I'm a bush poet by interest, and I was unaware of this poem, but it's beautifully written, and I'll do my best for a Scottish accent. My father came from Aberdeen, so and this is called Shades of the David Clark. Come up on deck, McEwan. The wind is blowing fair. Call Bar and Macmillan. Wishman, they're nearly there. Here's where we dropped the anchor 100 years ago, where yon beach of village had scarcely a light to throw. Now shipping crowds around us. There's lights along the shore. The factory, and I should explain this line, the factory lums are reeking, which is the factories. Factory chimneys are flat out. That wasn't there when they landed. So he was amazed as a ghost 100 years later seeing the factories there. Factory lums that are reeking. Yon shaft of light comes wheeling, the very heavens to stab. Is this the place, McEwan? Aye, it is the place, McNab. Come with me up the river. There's something lures me yon. The black encampment was here. Oh, the scene has changed, old man. And beside the towering buildings, the old road I see clear. The marketplace was yonder, and John Batman's house was here. Ah, how he would stare, McEwan, if his village he could now see. Nae doubt he's long forgotten, like laddies, you and me. What's yonder crowded building? Bright lights and fearful din. Come, Ben McEwan. I hear the pipes within. And there's something gay familiar about yon laddie's face. Who are these folk, McEwan? Wisht man, they're singing grace. What's yonder in the alcove? What says the speaker? Hark! Hey Mac, there's my Gaelic Bible. And listen, the David Clark. And now they stand in silence. What can this gathering be? Come take my hand, McEwan. They're remembering you and me. They're remembering you and me. Thank you, Lady Jane. You're all here remembering as well. And congratulations to all of you coming from afar. It's a privilege for me to be here, and I wish I was related to you because I'd love to have been part of this day. Perhaps next time I might find out I am. So anyhow, thank you. Thanks, Ari.
Thank you, Jim. Who hasn't got a lump in their throat? Obviously, this poem, or at least it's written, it reads almost as if now there's the toast at the dinner. Well, we can't have a toast right now, but perhaps when you return to your lunches, you can have a toast to your ancestors. So that was 1939, that poem. Now we're going back to 1839. we know that when the ship sailed from Greenock, John Arthur played a lament, Lochaber No More, if I'm saying that correctly. And we have a piper here today who is going to play Lochaber No More. After he's finished, he's then going to change into something more jolly. As John Arthur did play, we know again from the newspapers' reports of when they arrived, the night that their first night ashore, John Arthur played the bagpipes and led some of the passengers along the bank of the south bank of the Yarra River, probably to where the Royal Botanic Gardens is now, because there was a group of Aboriginal people having a corroboree, and the newspaper remarks on how the sound of the bagpipes mixed with the chaunt, I suppose, of the didgeridoo. Must have been an amazing feeling for those people. So glad to be ashore, but wondering quite what they'd come to. Although they weren't worried about a job, most of them were employed almost instantly. So the piper I would like to thank is David Connelly. Again, not a descendant, but he's kindly agreed to play, and he also already knew the lament. So he will play the lament and then lead us. So if, when he's ready to go, when the music cheers up, move that way through and lead us all down just to the end of the drive and then into the orchard, and we're going to plant a tree to commemorate the day. Donald Stewart, have I got that right? Someone I asked just to do the planting, and a small lad, I've forgotten who he was now, but the little lad I picked on when you came in, if he could, you two come forward when we get down to the bottom of the drive and just put the token spades in as if you're the Queen planting a tree. Okay, so David Connelly, thank you very much.
Face on it. I'll get out of your way.
This tree is a crabapple tree, coral crabapple. Maybe the flowers are coral, I don't know, but I'm told it's a coral crabapple. And the two people I've asked to ceremonially plant, Donald Stewart was at the 150th anniversary, and then Declan, who's a Rogerson by this family. Declan is going to put in a spadeful, so we've got the earlier generations and the coming generations. And I hope all you little ones do learn the story of your ancestors and be very proud. Okay. And then you can swap.
Here he goes.
Get another one?
Good boy. Probably go home and crack on the mum's garden now.